Hello. Okay, it is nice and finally fall weather in LA, so I got to wear this nice cozy sweater today. And I wrote an essay that I did share with my email list. So if you're on my email list, you may have already received it. If you're not, go ahead and subscribe. It's free. And I send out essays from time to time like this, but I also send out a lot of resources and inspiration about living life on your own terms, around healing, around growing your business, living your dreams. So I highly suggest you get on that list. And I wanted to share the essay with all of you as well. So I'm actually going to read it to you, which is something I normally wouldn't do in a video like this, but yeah, that's what it feels right. So here we go. If you've ever vented to a friend or family member, then you're definitely going to want to read, or you're definitely going to want to listen to this. In college, I vented a lot. I remember one time in particular when I vented to a couple of my roommates about another one of my roommates missing my annual dance recital. The four of us lived together in a suite where each of our rooms was connected to a shared common area, and that morning I walked out of my room and into the kitchen livid. How could she miss the show? She knew this was really important to me. She wasn't even doing anything that night besides hanging out with her boyfriend, something they literally do every single night. My words came out sharp and angry. I was angry. But of course, underneath the anger was a lot of hurt. Our friendship had been growing further and further apart for months, and I had a lot of emotions around the changing dynamic that I didn't know how to be with, let alone bring up in conversation. At that time in my life, and for many, many years after, I was terrified of conflict, unsure how to express my needs and desires, and really bothered whenever I felt like someone in my life couldn't or didn't want to show up for and support me in the things that mattered most to me. It would take me years to learn how to communicate, how to set boundaries, and to understand why this particular scenario hurt so much every single time it played out in my life. It would also take me many years to learn that whenever I felt the desire or need to vent to someone else about a friend, a family member, boss, or boyfriend, what I really needed to do was talk directly to the person about whatever was going on. For a long time, I didn't know that the desire or the need to vent was actually a mask, and that underneath, I was really just scared about how the conversation would go and what it might mean for our relationship. I don't know how long I stood in the common room venting. 10 minutes, maybe 20. What I do remember is the shock I felt when after I finished talking and my friend's boyfriend walked out of her room. While my friend had already left for her morning class, I hadn't known her boyfriend had spent the night at our place and been in her room listening to the entire conversation as I'd gone on about how selfish she was for missing my show. I told myself I didn't care that he'd overheard everything. I reasoned that I would have said all the same things to her and that I would say the same things to her later that day or that week. Except I never did. I don't think we ever really spoke about what happened. Maybe one of us apologized, maybe we both did, I'm not sure. What I do know is that we never had a real conversation about her missing the show and about the way I reacted afterwards. Still, our friendship continued in the way that relationships can, hanging on by shared circumstances and shared connections, devoid of the genuine, deeper connection and trust we once had. From time to time, I thought about the moment in the common room, pushing down the shame that was still there hiding underneath the surface. Shame is not an emotion I would come to know or understand until much later in my life. Instead, I insisted I'd learned an important lesson that day and that it was okay if we'd grown apart. But I never gave myself permission to actually feel the feelings that were there. I didn't know how. I didn't know what doing that really meant. 13 years later, I would experience the end of a relationship that broke me open and hurt in ways I still struggle to put into words. It would only be then, after years of doing personal development work and learning about subconscious reprogramming, inner child healing, and the way that trauma stays with us, that I would meet the part of myself that was hurting so much in that moment back in college. I would see for the first time how much she so desperately wanted to be cared for, how the anger and blame she expressed in the living room that day came from a place of feeling so alone and so unlovable. For the first time, I would be able to see her, to hold her, and to love her through it in a way that would profoundly change my life. And that's the reason why I created Men for More. I spent years studying mindset and somatic practices and energy work and healing modalities. And there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of things I tried that worked a little bit, and I felt like I took a couple of steps forward only to feel like there were so many steps backwards. And when I finally figured it all out, when it all finally made sense to me, I just knew that I had to share it with more women and men who really desire to create something different in their lives, not just their lives, but in the lives of their families and the lives of their communities, who are looking for deep connection with themselves and with other people, and to rewrite the stories of where they came from. And I spent over a year working with my good friend. Her name is Maggie Martin Gold, and she's also a coach and a spiritual healer, and she's amazing. And together we really went through and developed a step-by-step process of how all of this works, how you can guide yourself back into your truest self, that part of you that is connected and supported universally in whatever you believe or do not believe in, but you feel supported. You know there is support. You know you are lovable. You know you are deserving. You know you are worthy. And this process connects us back to that place. It's a process I share in Men for More. It's a process we share in a couple of other places as well. And it is just so powerful. It is so powerful, and it really has changed my life. I think for a long time, like many people, I kind of got into this world and I got into this work because I, wanted to feel better. And I thought maybe there was something I was doing wrong, or maybe I could just fix this part of myself, and then all the other things I wanted, like a really fulfilling career and a connected, amazing romantic relationship and money and fulfillment and success. Maybe if I just fixed and just healed or found the right modality, that I would, be able to experience all of those things, all of these things that I saw everyone else around me really have in a way that I wanted. And I had a great life, I had a successful career. I followed my dance dreams. I had really good relationships in many ways, and yet I still felt like something was missing. And it was only by really doing the stuff or going through the process that I share in Men for More that I finally did meet the part of myself that felt like she wasn't good enough. And I would not have told you that I felt that way. I felt really confident. I felt really beautiful. I knew I was smart. I knew I was capable. And yet there was a younger part of myself that had experienced all of these things, some of them big T trauma and some of them small T trauma, and she didn't know that. I feel her now, and I am, it does make me cry, because it's like, oh my gosh, I feel for that little girl who learned that she had to be perfect in order to be loved, and that it wasn't safe for her to make a mistake, and that she didn't get to have all of the love success and fulfillment and connection that she really wanted. And I guess I have a meeting in a few minutes. But I didn't know that she was so alive within me, right? Because there was another part of me that always did the thing I was scared to do and just put it out there and went for it. And that worked for a while. It worked in a big way. I think there's still so much power in doing that, of trying the thing and being like, okay, I can do it. It wasn't that scary. I was scared, but now I'm not scared. And when I found this other part of myself, it was like, oh my God, like I had no idea that this part was running so on such high alert, right? Because it was all unconscious. It was all unconscious. And when I finally was able to connect with her, which came through a really painful breakup, really painful. I have other videos that talk about that, but I really did find her in a new way, and I saw her, and I was able to love her, even though she made a mistake, and even though she's not perfect, and even though all these things, I was able to like really give her that love and support. And yeah, that is true healing. That is true breaking of the trauma that you've been holding on to. That is the true way of creating something different for your kids, or for, you know, whoever's in your community, whoever you interact, is being able to hold them in those moments, and really not just say it, but really believe it, really embody that. And so there is a bunch of other stuff that we do in Meant for More. The program in many ways is about clarifying your desires and really getting at the core of what more means for you in this lifetime. And that is such important work. And Oprah has a great quote where she talks about, you know, most people don't get to where they want to go in life because they don't know where they want to go. And it's very hard to go somewhere where you don't know. And your big vision will probably change and expand. It will expand as you start to take inspired, aligned action in your life. And the Meant for More program is also about that. Many of my programs are about that, but especially this one. And there is a very deep healing component, where we do go through this proven process. It's a step-by-step process. It works every time. And it's built upon several of the tools and modalities and work that both Maggie and I studied and really have come and brought together in our own way. Yeah, so if you're interested in the program, there's more information in the comments or in the description below. And I hope that the essay resonated with you, and I hope that you find the parts in yourself to really love and to really see and to really understand that the way they're acting is meant to keep you safe, and you probably don't need them to act that way anymore, and you needed them to do that once. And that's what they're still doing. And so as we find these parts of ourselves and love on them and show them that they can take on new roles in our lives, it really does change the relationship we have with ourselves, and then also the relationship we have with everyone else. I used to be annoyed by so many things, and I would just kind of like check out. I'd be like, oh, that's annoying. That person's annoying. That person doesn't communicate well. So frustrated. And now that I have been embodying this new way of being, my relationship with those people and my relationship to their actions is so different. And it's opened up more success and more connection and more fulfillment to come into my life. And that's ultimately what I hope for you, and I know that it's possible. So I'll see you in the next video. Check out all the resources in the description below, and leave a comment and say hi. Let me know what you thought of the essay, if you can relate, and where you are in your own journey of life right now.